Welcome back, guys. In today's video we are discussing whether or not you should fit 22-inch wheels onto your Range Rover Sport. For me, I feel that Range Rover should have just put 22s on the L320 from day one. It just looks so much better, it fills the arches, and in my opinion it actually looks more OEM with the 22s on it compared to 20s. Now, what motivated me to upgrade was this particular car. Just the ride height and the wheel design just looks so right. So I got in touch with the brand, ADV1, and the prices blew my mind. I mean, they're amazing wheels, but my God. They worked out at an average of £2,289 a corner. The fronts are 10.5 inch wide, the rears are 12 inch wide, which is massive. That's like, you know, wider than what X5s run. Also bear in mind that this is now a staggered setup, so you do have to be careful that you run the correct profile tyres so that the rolling radius remains the same. If not, then you're going to screw up your 4x4 system. It's rare to run a staggered setup on a Range Rover. So yeah, for the wheels, 2,300-ish roughly per wheel. You're talking around £9,000 for a set of 4 wheels. These wheels in particular are the ADV6 Track Spec CS series. They're absolutely beautiful, but you're talking £9,000 for a set. That's a big investment. And bear in mind, that's just the wheels as well. That's not the tyres. So for the tyres, you're going to need a set of 295 30/22s up front. They average at about £270 each. And the rears, get this, they run 335 25/22s, and they work out for a good ones like Michelin's at around £350 a tyre. So just for a set of 4, again, you're looking at another £1,240-ish. Add that onto the 9k for the wheels, you're talking like over 10 grand, £10,250 roughly for a set of wheels. Now, I love these wheels, but I mean, that's the cost of like a reasonable sports car. So yeah, I wanted to find a different alternative, something that would still give that similar look, but without spending that much money. And this is where I found the current wheels I'm running on the car, the 2 Graves. We've had a few people ask in the comments if the car now drives and feels heavier because it's got 22s on it. For me, it doesn't. I think that's because they're premium brand wheels. They're not cheap replicas off eBay. If you do buy them, then they generally are going to be heavier. They're not necessarily as well made. So you probably are going to notice a change in the steering if you do have the cheap wheels. But yeah, if you buy expensive, more premium brand ones, then I actually don't notice a difference. I also wouldn't really recommend going for replicas due to just the weight of the car, and you don't know if they've been tested to a certain level or a certain safety standard, and you do not want replica wheels cracking when you're driving down a motorway at 70-80 miles an hour with your family in the back. Similar with wheel spaces as well. I've never fitted wheel spaces on my car, and I never would on a car this heavy. You hear horror stories about people's wheels just flying off because these dodgy wheel spaces have just cracked and just the whole thing's exploded, and next minute they're 3 wheels on a motorway. So yeah, you know, you want to be getting the offset correct from day one, and that is where if you buy premium brand wheels, then very often they do offer you a selection of offsets to choose from, and ultimately that does put less stress and less strain on your suspension. Because remember, if you put in wheel spacers on, then it's still just going to be putting more stress on the ball joints and the suspension arms, and it's false economy. You're going to break them, and then what you saved on wheels, you're going to end up spending on repairs. I'd highly recommend spending pretty much the same amount of time researching the offsets as you do choosing a design. It's that important. The offset makes literally that much of a difference. It will make or break the final look of your car. It's that important. Just as a guide, the lower the offset, the further the wheels will stick out from the hub. So that will improve the stance, and it will improve the handling and the stability of the car. Ultimately, it's a wider track, isn't it? So it's a bigger distance between the 2 wheels. If you have a look at one of my other videos where I'm talking about lowering the car, with a wider stance and a lower car, you can literally transform how these Range Rover Sports handle. It's night and day, so do check that out. I did, for my sins, have a set of Cairn wheels on this, and I did buy them off eBay, but they were genuine, so that's my excuse. And they had a very high offset in comparison to these, and it just made the car look like Bambi. Literally, the wheels were so kind of tucked into the arches. It looked rubbish. I'll try and find a picture. If I've got a picture, I'll put it up here so you can see just how, dare I say, wrong it looked. And yeah, they were 22-inch, but they were a 9-inch wheel compared to these being a 10.5-inch, and the ET of them was a lot higher than these. These are a -32, I believe, so they really are kind of right out on the limit. And because they're 10.5-inch, they've got a massive concave on them as well. One tip you need to remember as well is that when you're changing your wheels over to aftermarket wheels, you need to be buying aftermarket wheel nuts. the OEMs do not fit. So they're very different. The OEM wheel bolts or nuts, what you want to call them, are much chunkier, and they sit against the wheel. Whereas if you're getting aftermarkets, then very often they're conical, so it's a completely different design. So you need to check that out, because you will otherwise be sitting there with your nice shiny new wheels and no way of attaching them onto your car. That also means that you're going to need an updated wheel nut wrench as well, so you can actually tighten them onto the car. Also, another top tip is make sure that you keep the original wheel wrench and 5 of the OEM bolts in the boot in the event of a puncture. You need them in addition to obviously the existing ones. You need them, otherwise literally you won't be able to do anything. You'll just be stranded on the side of the road, and that will be an interesting conversation you'll be having with a recovery driver. The optimum tyre size for the 22-inch wheels is a 285 by 35 by 22. Some people do run 285 40/22s. That just gives you a little bit more cushioning, so it's not quite as kind of harsh. You definitely notice that the ride quality has been degraded when you go to 22s with a lower profile. So you might want to consider going for a 40 rather than a 35. That number just relates to the height of the sidewall. It's a percentage in relation to the width of the tyre. So 35 is obviously 35% of 285, or 40 is 40% of the 285. So the higher up you go, the chunkier the sidewall is. Like, for example, my Defender has got 265 65 18s. So yeah, it's 65% of the width of the 265. Try to avoid budget tyres if you can. I actually ran them on the Khans and they were terrible. They were very difficult to balance, really. That was the main thing. They fell out of balance quite easily as well. I had to go and get them rebalanced a few times, and yeah, they're not manufactured to the same quality standards as the likes of, say, Pirellis, like what I've run with the 2 Craves. It does make a difference, definitely. Also, a lot of people don't realize this, but the budget tires, they've got like a weird shape. If you look at, say, the Acceleras, I think they're what most people go for. They're cheap and cheerful. They're relatively, you know, good value, relatively safe, I suppose, for what you're paying. But if you check out the kind of the curvature, if you're looking at the tire, say that the wheels there, you look at the curvature, they're really kind of domed. They look weird. You know, as you compare them to, say, Toyo tires. Toyos are literally just square, and Pirellis, I just love Pirellis. They're nice looking tires. There's just something about them. So yeah, have a look next time you look at cheap tires. You'll see they're domed. Yeah, they're just strange. Another very important thing you want to look at is to make sure that the wheel spokes actually clear the calipers. You don't want to buy wheels, try and fit them, and then you try and turn the wheel and it bangs on the caliper, and obviously you can't then drive your car anyway because your wheels don't fit. If you've got the diesel, you should be fine with most wheels because they've got smaller brakes. But if you've got the full fat supercharged Range Rover, they have the much bigger Brembo brake calipers on them, so you are more limited in your design. You also want to choose your design carefully as well, really for like the curbing element, because 22s, my God, they love curbs. Literally, there's something about them. And these wheels, I didn't actually realize until they arrived, but the spokes literally protrude out from the design of the wheel slightly. So they love curbs even more for that reason. And I am a very careful driver when it comes to curbs. I literally curbed maybe one of my wheels in maybe 10 years. And even that still hurts. It still annoys me that I curbed the wheel. These, I've actually curbed them. I've curbed the front right and the rear right, which is shocking. You know, it's acceptable to do like the ones on the left because they're further away, but I've actually caught these ones down here. They're only very minimal little marks, but yeah, you've got zero forgiveness with these wheels because, you know, if you go for like chunkier tiles, obviously the sidewall will kind of act as a little bit of a barrier if you do kiss a curb. But with these, because the spokes actually protrude slightly further out than the design of the you know, the flat part of the wheel, and obviously where the sidewall of the tire is, there is zero forgiveness. If you go up against a curb, then that is it. I actually still hate the person that made me curb my wheels. It was an old man in probably like a Citroen Picasso or something, and he was going up a spiral multi-story car park stupidly slowly, and I was actually crawling up behind him to the point where I could not see where the curbs were. And I've been in this multi-story about 100 times. I know it like the back of my hand. I've never had any issues. This one time I'm literally right behind him, I'm following him, and he clearly has no idea as to where he is on the road. He's gone up the curb. Next minute I'm following him up the curb as well. But you just had this boom boom boom. I did 3 of my spokes in that one sitting, so I was livid. Obviously you can't, you know, go up to Mr. Picasso and go, you've just made me curb my wheels. But it was so annoying. So yeah, even more so because they're black, so you know, you do see them very easily if you do curb or get any marks on black wheels. So yeah, ran over. Anyway, should you fit 22-inch wheels to your car? Yes, in my opinion, it's a massive improvement. And in this particular case, with my wheels and the widths and the offsets that I've gone for, it looks great. But remember that one size does not fit all when it comes to doing 22-inch wheels, as I've demonstrated with the Kahn wheels. You know, they're just completely different. These two Crev wheels that I've got, they do give this car a very, very different look, a much more aggressive stance compared to the Kahns. So yeah, if you are thinking about moving over to 22s, then do make sure you do your research. It's worth it, because ultimately it is going to change the look of your car massively. So you do want to get that right. You don't want to be messing around, you know, waiting on wheels to turn up and then they just look pants when you fit them. So check the whips, check the ETs, use that website that I've put a link to, do all your measurements, spend the time, and the end result is you'll get your car looking absolutely spot on at the end. So yeah, I'm going to end the video there. If it's helped, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get some subscribers to my channel. Hit the thumbs up if it's helped, drop a comment, and I'll see you next time.